T minus 50 seconds. T minus 40 seconds. T minus 30 seconds. T minus 20 seconds. Ten, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, 0.
Own it, own it, own it, Kong. I own it. It did.
Women's Wrestling Talk, the #1 women's wrestling show on the planet. Women's Wrestling Talk, the #1 women's wrestling show on the planet.
Happy Wednesday, y'all. Welcome to WWT Live, Women's Wrestling Talk, the #1 women's wrestling show on the planet. We are going to be talking about WWE. We're going to be talking about WWE in Africa. We're going to be talking about apparently Selena Vega is white, or maybe not. We'll get into all of that. However, I am not alone. Thank goodness the professor is in the building. How are you doing?
I am great. I still can't believe we're in November already. Like this year is
much, it's 2023. I need to start my vision board, calling it a day.
Absolutely. I hear you every time I start looking at the calendar. Once we got to October, you're like, if you haven't done anything, the year's over. Just forget it. Like
I actually have not said. I did not. Well, I said that in a certain context, meaning that
Sure.
there's still like legitimately 2 months to get things done. However, if you haven't like been motivated to do it thus far, and you're one of those people who like start every Monday, like, you know, when they want to start something new, it happens on Monday, or they use the new year to, it's kind of like almost, if you have goals or you want to accomplish them next year, it's probably now is the time to try to set those goals. So I usually do my vision board around this time, like November, right around Thanksgiving. Because, you know, when January starts, you kind of want to be in it versus, oh, well, it's January 1st. Like, you know, that's my personal thing, but I'm also like the person who has 3 different lists running, and a computer list and another list. So it's just kind of one of those things where, you know, I'm obsessed with, you know, goal setting and lists and stuff like that. So hopefully that all gets me to be a millionaire. And hey, Stephanie, how you doing?
The queen is here.
The queen is here, and he went away and he came back.
Oh, is he back?
Kane McCoy's in the building. How you doing, Kane?
I am doing super, and I'm about to better in just a few. There we go. It's one of those things that, you know, it's already November 2nd. Like 2022 is essentially over. We got 2023 OTW just right around the corner. In a Firefly Funhouse that's abandoned. That's where it's coming from. So hopefully it brings us lots of interesting cheer.
Okay.
Go away.
I don't know how we went all the way there, but okay.
Yeah, we'll just start here. We'll skip over all that and
the top rope.
What do we have first?
Well, you know, WWE has come a long way from being merely a regional promotion. They certainly went to go global, and they are truly expanding into global markets. They've expanded their relationship with South African satellite TV service MultiChoice to be able to bring the WWE Network's programming to sub-Saharan Africa. This is a really, really big deal. So there was a press statement that came from WWE today where the partnership with this South African satellite television service called MultiChoice will include all of WWE's premium live events, including WrestleMania. It'll also have the WWE's network of extremely amazing original programming. The archive programming will all be there. So it's all there. Plus, this MultiChoice space, they've got a subsidiary called SuperSport. They've secured a multi-year extension that will continue its broadcast of live weekly episodes of Raw, SmackDown, and NXT, along with the premium live events. So there's also this cool series specifically in Africa called Jambo WWE, which features WWE programming and appearances from guest celebrities and wrestling luminaries from across Africa. Now, Showmax does not do programming in North Africa for WWE, but WWE is covered there by the NBC Group, who has also announced a new partnership with WWE, which includes broadcasting for North Africa and the Middle East. So these are some big deals, and this MultiChoice deal that covers South Africa mirrors the deals that we're seeing with Peacock and NBC Universal in the US, Disney with Indonesia and the Philippines and other spaces. So needless to say, WWE is well covered now, fully in the continent of Africa, both North and South Africa. This is a big deal.
Absolutely. And if this is anything like what WWE does when they're making their entries into international territories and the wrestlers that are on their roster, then Kofi Kingston's supposed to be WWE champion again, right? We're going to get like Kofi Kingston versus Apollo Crews.
Well, let's wait. Let's be clear. It's not their first entry into Africa. It's not. It is merely the extension of their coverage in Africa. Remember, we got Kofi as WWE champion, of course, and one of the first things he did was made a trip to Ghana, and they made sure they covered that in a special as well. So unfortunately, I don't think we're going to be seeing a return to Kofi as champion because of this expanded deal, but it does certainly expand the footprint for a lengthy period of time for WWE.
Damn, Kofi's never getting that rematch, huh? It's not happening.
Well, at this point, how many people? I mean, like, we've had a long time. Matter of fact, it's been 3 years since Kofi was the WWE champion and lost that title match. So
at this point they can hope for 2 to 3 tag team runs, and then that's about it. Not because WWE won't have it, just because I think that will be about it for New Day, period.
Yeah,
so
and I mean, New Day's
3 runs left.
New Day has had a very lengthy run. I mean, if we think about, and I don't want to dovetail too much, but when we start thinking about the length of time that factions are usually together for a continuous period of time, the New Day is actually like leading the charge.
Yeah, they have far exceeded.
Yeah, I mean, think about it. The Horsemen were together initially for like maybe a year and a half, 2 years before a split, and then they came back together. And then the NWO was only like a 2-3 year deal before it kind of broke up and spazzed out and then kind of reformed and things like that. The New Day has never broken up
because they refused to, though.
And that's why they refused to, and they're still selling. They're still popular. Yeah. So that's a testament to them. And I think when the history books are writing their story, that's going to be a big part of it.
This is very true.
Well, maybe with this, we can figure out how we can get a pay-per-view, a premium live event, maybe somewhere in Africa. That will be really ill, as it looks like Triple H is really putting the world in world wrestling entertainment and going around. So JD says, do you think Ghana changes the channel when Almost comes on TV?
Now, I don't know if there's bad blood between Ghana and Nigeria. I'm not sure, but I don't know.
I mean, I kind of feel, because it's if you take race out of it. It's the same thing in the islands. Like, you know, in California, all the islands, if you're from the island, we are all part of one because there's just so few of people from the Caribbean in LA. But if you go to the East Coast, like if you say you're from a certain island, you know, they dismiss you if you're not from their island. Like, because there's a heavy population of Caribbean folks, and I feel like the folks from Africa that I know, like they're very like, okay, if we all in the where we're all from Africa and it's LA, okay, but if it's like some other places, I think there's a little bit, not necessarily, you know, hatred, but it's like, no, we're better. So you know.
Gotcha.
I mean, to that, I was going to say, you know, whether you're in Africa, South America, North America, Europe, I think we all do the same thing when Omos comes on television. Yeah.
Wow.
We watch. We enjoy. What are you talking about? We watch the squash matches. That's what I was talking about.
Hey, JD. Hey, Casey. But what do we have next?
Forget what you heard. Omos and Braun and Crown Jewel is going to bang. Don't play yourself.
I think that's got potential. but I feel like this next story has your name written all over it, Kane. Well, I mean, if you don't, I can grab it, but I can toss it to you, and you know.
It's fitting I talk so much about my WWE Superstar credit card. I've been using it a lot. May or may not have been using it to check out what I was told was simply exclusive content, exclusive ways to keep in contact with one of my favorite wrestlers who was gone from WWE too soon, but now she's back. And I'm talking about the former Emma, who became Tenille Dashwood, who is now Emma again after making her return to WWE Friday Night SmackDown. She has shut down her adult-only content website, to which, again, I just found about today. What a coinkydink. She was on the Brand Army, and she spoke about this. She sent out a notice to all of her subscribers saying that, hey, guys, you know, it's basically been a fun ride. She had over 8,000 paid followers. So, you know, she won't hurt for the money, baby. You know what I mean? Don't worry about her contracts with WWE or whatnot. Or Impact. She was making an impact, making her side hustle doing this. She says, to my dearest friends, I could not be more excited to return to WWE, but unfortunately now I must bid goodbye to Brand Army and will be closing my account. I cannot express enough my deep, heartfelt gratitude for your love and support. My fans are my friends, the reason I do what I do, and it has been so incredible to get to know you. I've got some unfinished business to take care of now, and I hope to have all your support on this journey, kicking some butt in WWE. Again, love, Tenille.
Was it like an OnlyFans? Like what?
Well, I can't remember which member of the Inspiration had the Brand Army account. But I knew one of them, maybe they both had a Brand Army account, but you know, if OnlyFans was hardcore, then Brand Army was like Skinamax type of deal. You know what I mean? It was kind of like just very like.
Wait, so Skinamax a bad thing or a good thing?
Yes, that's right. I'm speaking to the Canadian.
I mean, I don't know.
There was this thing that I heard back in the day. After hours, Cinemax will show softcore pornography.
Okay.
Softcore pornography was it would show, so it wasn't the hard stuff. It was soft stuff, and usually about.
But that's like
11...
OnlyFans though too.
Well, OnlyFans can get like really like graphic, again, from what I've heard. And but the Brand Army was very like chill and just kind of like, ooh, do you like what you see? Maybe, maybe not. Click for more. It was very like suggestive and made you keep buying. Oh, tell Shannon. I said, what? Oh, wait, who's Shannon Tweed? Never heard of her at all.
Oh my god.
But anywho, Emma has shut down her Brand Army account, and now if you want to see Emma, then you can just be a creep on Reddit and go to certain forums on Reddit and watch it.
But here's what I'm stuck on. You said she had 8,000 paid subscribers, right?
8,000.
If that's $10 a month, she was bringing in 80 G's a month.
That's what I'm trying to tell you.
Wow.
Yeah. And allegedly it was 8,001 today, but then one quickly went away again. Allegedly, not saying, whatever, they're going to refund me my money.
Allegedly.
Or something like that. But yeah, that's what I'm saying, man. Like, I didn't even know, because I was doing some research for this story. And apparently there's like a lot of wrestlers who have similar accounts. You're going to have to do a little research of your own, people, and find it yourself. But there's a lot of very prominent wrestlers who do have these type of one-on-one exclusive content websites, which I ain't mad at it, man. Get that money, dog.
So why, if that's the case, are the other wrestlers in your research, Kane? Were they WWE wrestlers or were they just like indie wrestlers?
There are a couple who are active WWE superstars right now. One is like apparently predominantly featured on a brand and is even a champion, and she's just out here doing her thizzle, you know what I mean? Exclusive content you can pay to buy. And I was like,
yeah, so I wonder why Emma
there's only 3
Emma got her
right now.
Well, are we talking about WWE or AEW?
He said WWE.
Oh.
Yeah. It ain't Bianca, I can tell you that.
I'm sure it's not, and I'm pretty sure it's not the MMA girl. That only leaves one.
Yeah, I mean, some people like toxicity, so
So what I am curious is, and I think this is where you were going, TK, as to why Emma shut hers down. Now, I will ask this: do these superstars who you've researched have these under different names?
No, it's them. It's like this is almost not like a Twitch situation or anything like that. It's them. Like, it's like, hey, it's me. We're out here. Subscribe if you really want to hang out with me and do that type of situation, which I was kind of shocked. I was kind of like, okay, there's a lot of interesting consumers of professional wrestling. So I would have been kind of worried about kind of like how they would really put it out there. But apparently these people who subscribe are very protective over like the accounts and really don't leak anything and don't really discuss it outside of the brand army or whatever site you choose to subscribe on. So Emma put it out there that, again, I just found out about this today, and she's no longer gonna be on there. So if you want to see her, you gotta watch her Friday nights on Fox.
Because I think on OnlyFans you can't screenshot or do it. I think there's like a protective thing, because like I low-key I was trying to figure out something for Hulu, and I was trying to screen record an episode, not even an episode, just a clip just off of Hulu, and that mug was black. Like, it was like, I don't know what you're trying to do, but you're not gonna be successful doing it this way. So I feel like maybe that's another reason why it's so protective. But yeah, it's I'm really, I'm one for multiple streams of income. Like if that was a drinking word, drinking game, then, drink up. So it's just interesting why she would give that up, or if that was in her contract that she had to give it up. So that's the interesting thing,
because I was pretty sure, and I don't know if this changed in the Triple H era, but I was pretty sure that the WWE folks weren't allowed. I knew they weren't allowed to do the Twitch, but I'm pretty sure they weren't allowed to do the OnlyFans.
Yeah, but that's changing now.
But that's what I'm saying. Like, that was the Twitch thing changed. I didn't know if the OnlyFans changed because of just whatever they consider decency or that type of thing,
well,
or even if that's a concern at this point,
right? That's kind of hypocritical. It's like decency, but they're wearing two-piece. Like, there's
I mean, it's like them like in workout clothes and like see me like squat 800 pounds and like that type of situation.
And then Instagram and stuff. Like, I mean, I don't see, I mean, maybe Kane, in your research you can talk about this, but I honestly see maybe Emma doing sexual pictures, but still with the two-piece on. Like, you're not, and you can look at any music video, and it's not even a racial thing, and see, I mean, even forget music video, you can see it, look on Instagram and see, next to naked men and women, guys with gray sweatpants on, who like it's all over the place. So I don't know. Figure it out, Emma. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean,
JP is
and
another good
again, for
example.
like anybody who's filling the void of subscribing to Emma's brand army, then feel free to search at Kane McCoy and subscribe.
All right.
Yeah.
Well,
yeah. All right.
I
I had something else I was gonna say. We're just gonna move right along because I don't know what to do with that. I will say this: if you watched NXT last night, you noticed. Well, I noticed something interesting. There was a match that involved Chase University, and kind of the flag bearer, Bodie Hayward, wasn't there, and they made this interesting reference to him that I didn't fully understand until now, as apparently he was a part of another purge of NXT talent that happened today. So Bodie Hayward is released. He's no longer with WWE. Some of the others that were released included Sloane Jacobs, who had joined NXT back in March of this year and was once part of the Monster Factory. She'd also competed on Level Up and was even working some of the NXT live events this weekend. Then Erica Yan, who's from Shanghai, she also was released. She debuted on NXT TV late last year, but didn't really compete again until September. Also, Damaris Griffin was released as well. And then Ru Feng was also released. So it was about 5 folks who were released from NXT as part of this. And one of the things that we did know was, with this new program that they had, that they were going to be making these evaluations pretty regularly. And the thought was, if after 6 months, it's not popping, then they were going to, let people go. So I don't want to, I'm never happy for anybody to lose their job. But the idea that it was only 5 versus some of the mass cuts we've seen over time,
right?
There is a statement to be said there, and I think the only one that most people are kind of like, "Whoa," is Bodie Hayward, just because he had been featured so prominently on television. But 5 cuts from NXT today.
Yeah, I mean, Bodie Hayward, don't feel so bad, homie. A lot of people have to drop out of school, drop out of university. The reason why I have my aforementioned brand army account is to pretty much pay for my tuition and enrollment at Chase U. So make sure you subscribe. Again, if you're missing out on Emma, subscribe to Kane McCoy. Thank you. But really, though, it was very interesting. No! It was so weird last night to see like the thing with Thea Hale and Chase and Andre Chase Togan, and the flag was just kind of there. Right. He was like, wait, what happened? Let me jump on my computer. This is how I type, by the way. Let me jump on my computer and see what's going on with Bodie. And then you saw that he was released. Then you saw that he made a video on his Twitter kind of explaining everything. And that's when you was like, oh, okay, this one is different. The previous 4 probably clearly most likely have to do with in-ring performance and maybe not getting better, but Bodie was getting well. He was over with the fans. He was doing house shows. He was on TV. He says that he's hurt and he's embarrassed, and that was the puke for me. And there's been a couple reports coming out stating that there were some things kind of behind the scenes that was going on with Bodie that may be coming out. So he spoke as Brady Booker. He remained in gimmick somehow. He kept a little bit of kayfabe by speaking about Chase University. But again, some things were coming out that we may have some issues. Hopefully, we just chalk this up to him being young, and maybe he can kind of get away from a bit and then eventually come back, because I think that he was really great in the ring. As for the other 4, hopefully if they love professional wrestling, they will be able to get on the indie scene and come back. And I hope we guys saw that, because I think I got frozen. But yeah.
I mean, we'll see what happens. Like, I definitely agree with you, Professor, as far as, at least it was a small amount. And maybe there's certain criteria that you have to hit within a certain amount of periods. Like, back in, I think it was TMZ, it's like you had 2 months to prove yourself. So maybe that's kind of the thing that they're doing as well. Like, I guess maybe there is a criteria. We'll see. This
Mhm.
is a whole new regime. If we see this happening every so often, then as if I were a wrestler trying to get into WWE, then there's more pressure, and maybe that more pressure will make you better, or because you know that you're not going to have the longevity as of like Aaliyah, who was there for a long period of time. Like maybe now you're under the gun every single moment. So we'll see what happens. But the great thing is, in the era that we're in, there's so many promotions, and if you actually put your mind to it, even without the major promotions on the indie scene, the combination of the indie scene and social media, you can make a living.
Yes,
it just all requires
totally
work.
That's right.
So hopefully he'll figure it out. What do we have next?
Well, since you mentioned NXT and folks leaving and kind of the whole process that WWE is using to gain new superstars, if you remember, it was now about a year ago when NXT 2.0 went into place, where we heard the infamous interview that WWE would no longer be looking to sign independent wrestlers. Well, the regime has changed, and so has the strategy, as WWE will now be returning to signing independent wrestlers. So apparently right now, WWE is scouting independent talent. And if if this is an indication, then yeah, be aware. Gabe Sapolsky, who used to be, at one point part of ECW, the guy who was running Evolve, who is now working with WWE. Apparently he was at the Defy show this past weekend. So it's clear WWE is definitely scouting talent again, and they're scouting independent talent. And so, yeah, it's a good time to be what's happening on the independent circuit. So all the more reason to what we were just saying, why you can go and kill it on the independent if your goal is to get back to WWE. Steph, don't do that to me now. You already know the vibe. I'm sorry. For those who didn't hear, Stephanie said, let them scout independent commentators, and y'all know the vibe. So if they're doing that, and I'm sure they are, we've got material out there for you. So the hope.
And then also FYI, Steph, wrestling, Championship Wrestling Hollywood, they're looking for people in Alabama. So I don't know if you saw that.
That's perfect for her.
It's floating around in Facebook. So just FYI, I meant to send it, but I was working. So
Sure.
but yeah, I'm for that, especially with the indie. Like, I mean, there's so many indie wrestlers, and there's so many indie schools. There's so many schools out there. That why not? And then on top of that too, taking somebody who you have, it's kind of like a different era right now, because you have people who are like F school. And, I'm not necessarily for that, for college or not. It just depends on where you are. But if you really don't know what you want to do, and you're going to end up in debt, versus I'm going to do this wrestling thing, especially when I'm young, I could take my chances. You can fall, then why not? So, I mean, they do, but they need a lot of things. But here we are. We'll work it out in the back scenes. What do you have to say, Kane?
Well, I was gonna say I'd like to take a reprieve, apologize, because I said right here on this very, very show about a month ago and was like, hey fam, if you're an independent wrestler, then you might want to throw on some khakis and go work at FedEx or something, man. UPS is hiring because WWE ain't checking for you. You know what I mean? And now here we have, over a month later, we have completely changed that. And I think this is WWE somewhat admitting that, hey, this NIL thing may not be working the way that we think it is. We're just breaking people off the street. Sometimes just because you're an athlete in one sport doesn't mean that it translates to another. You know what I'm saying? For every Bianca Belair, we have, for every, Braun Breaker, we have, sometimes those skills don't translate over. So I think WWE's like, look, bro, at the end of the day, we are a wrestling company. We need, wrestlers, people come in here and understand, and there's the passion for it. And okay, we'll bring them in and we could break them down, to our WWE style, and then we can have them perform the way we want to perform, where everything isn't just, flips and no sales every 3 seconds. So I really enjoy this. I'm really happy for the independent scene. Also noted, Gabe Sapolsky was at the Defy event that happened this past Saturday. And who was wrestling on that event? Minoru Suzuki. So just keep that in mind for future WWE events, because I'm sure he wasn't just looking at independent wrestlers. I'm telling you, we're going to see a full-blown New Japan Pro Wrestling Noah WWE event in 2023. The seed's already been planted, obviously, with Shinsuke and Great Muta, but again, we're going to see that go down. So I'm very excited for this, and again, we can see more indie wrestlers show up, and they can do the NIL deal with those indie wrestlers. They could package it up that way. Hey, you guys want to be wrestling for, popcorn and a t-shirt and $20 for gas? Or do you want to live in Orlando and just have like a great time at Disney and wrestle every Tuesday? Come on, man. The deal's right there. And it makes for better wrestling too. It makes for better wrestling. Sometimes we watch this like,
wait, first off, disclaimer: Kane has been sick for 2 weeks, and I can't speak for you, Professor, but for me, I don't know if I could just chalk this up to, because Kane is still kind of sick. So
I mean, this is like Kane on steroids right now.
Yes. So we're a little, perplexed as far as what to.
We are.
This is clearly my Jordan game. This is my Jordan flu game, and possibly, this is my Jeff Hardy versus Sting. So
Oh wow.
With that being said, let's go.
Don't be mad at me. Heel of the day.
Who do we got for heel of the day?
Well, let's try this. As we talk about all that's happening in the world of wrestling, obviously one of the coolest things in the world now is social media, where fans and wrestlers can actually interact in ways that just seemed impossible during the Attitude Era. But now it's able to happen. But with that, every now and again, we get fans that just kind of go well over the line and say some things that are crazy. So apparently, we had Halloween happen this weekend, and Queen Zelina, she obviously dressed up for Halloween as a pretty cool character. And in so doing, some fans decided to do some things. So she dressed up as, and I can't pronounce this person's name from Game of Thrones. I wish I watched better. So yeah, but she did a cosplay of herself as this wonderful person from Game of Thrones. And one of the fans decided to say this tweet. Now, his name is James Farrell, and he said, quote, "I know she wishes she was white." Now, from there are people apparently that have tried to call out Zelina Vega, saying that she has deliberately lightened her skin. And so now she's had to respond to it with a tweet like this. She says, "Wow, I can't believe I have to explain this. Yes, when I was younger, I had darker skin tone, but as I grew older, it got lighter naturally. Not because I had surgery or hated my skin tone. I love my skin tone and the culture that comes with it. Hashtag Afro Latina." So for the whole idea, Mr. James Farrell, that you think it's okay to tell an Afro Latina woman that she wishes she was white, you, sir, are the heel of the day. I could go a lot further with that.
Yeah,
that's horrible, man. Like, Zelina Vega looks like every New York Boricua I've ever seen in my life. Like, what is it? A New York Rican, if you will. Like, she has the Afro. Like, that's the first thing you thought, bro. See, that's why nobody don't like no wrestling fans, man. Because that's like, What that got to do with anything? It's like, I'm going to find the most outlandish-ish I can say that doesn't pertain to Game of Thrones or wrestling. I'm just going to attack. I bet you wish you was white. Nah, man. Like, that's. I mean, I bet you wish that you was like not a Nick Beard jerk. Like, did the guy even have a his face in the Abbey, or was it like some random? You know what I mean? Like,
Well,
picture, whatever.
it's an image. It's not necessarily his picture.
Yeah, man. Like,
so
I'm shocked Zelina Vega even responded to that, dog. Like, y'all better.
Well, we also don't know like how many people also like said something, and on the flip side, so I'm gonna pull up the pictures. Khaleesi, that's who she played from Game of Thrones. Okay. So on the flip side, it's also kind of like if you don't know, meaning that if you don't know a person of color, and that the fact that they come in all types of shades and they change colors during the season. I mean, I can't. Well, yeah, you could speak to white folks. They tan and they get browner. Like, it's the same. It's no different.
But like, dude clearly lives in like Nebraska. Like, this dude obviously lives in like Omaha, Nebraska, or like Minot, North Dakota, or something. Like, they're like where there's no type of diversity. Is just white people. That's all he lives around, and it's real ignorant. I'm sad that Zelina Vega even addressed it, but I mean, again, this is Elon Musk's Twitter, so there we go. You can just kind of.
And then here's the throwback, and you'll also have to remember that when was this throwback? What year was this?
It don't say the year, but I mean, it looks like 06, 07. It looks like 06, 07 Jeff Hardy.
And so you also have to remember lighting and makeup techniques as well. Like,
and the type of camera.
And the type of camera and the color hair. Like, when my hair when I have a browner texture, I actually appear like it's one of those things. But anyways, I figured we just give him the heel of day because he doesn't know. And
I want Malachi Black to find this guy and just spit the mist in his face and give him a black eye. You know what I'm saying? But shouts to Zelina Vega and that other dude. Go be around black people. Let's see what
that part. We have Casey saying people need to get out more and touch grass. Pretty much. I mean, at the end of the day, it is what it is. We gave him enough time. Shout to Zelina for that great costume. I mean, she does cosplay all the time. So shout to her for that. And she does do it well. So what do we have next?
Okay. Well, we have Crown Jewel, guys. Crown Jewel is this Saturday.
It is.
Question mark?
Yes.
Or is it correct?
Possibly.
Oh, yes.
Here's why. There are some current what's the word to use? Beef that's going on in Saudi Arabia right now with Iran. Okay. Apparently they're not walking to the beef. They're running to the beef. I ran to the beef. That's what they're getting handled. There's a report that United States was made aware of a potential imminent threat to the Saudi Arabian kingdom from Iran. Now, Crown Jewel is stated to be hosted from Riyadh, and they're going to move forward. And PW Insider is saying that WWE is still moving forward with the show. As quote, the company already has security protocols and emergency contingencies in place for any issues. Man, if y'all don't pull them boys and girls out of Saudi Arabia, dog, like Sergeant Slaughter's not even around to defend America for him. How
Slaughter?
Who was supposed to?
Oh my gosh!
Like, who was supposed to help these people out here, man? So I understand it's the big show. They're putting obviously Logan Paul in the main event against Roman Reigns for the undisputed title. But I mean, again, if it just seems like every time WWE goes to Saudi Arabia, something is happening. Whether they're detained on tarmacs for hours on end, whether they're going the same weekend, a journalist randomly disappears and shows up in boxes and piece by pieces. Like, it's just like, and now this with Iran having beef with Saudi Arabia. What what possible beef could Iran have with Saudi Arabia? Like, is Iran mad that a woman in Saudi Arabia showed her ankle or something? Like, what?
Don't do it.
What's the beef?
Don't do it. Here's where I think the larger problem is. They have signed, they being the WWE, has a 10-year deal with Saudi Arabia. And in their 10-year deal, they are supposed to do 2 events per year. And they are being paid handsome amounts of money. I heard the tune of like $40 million a year for these shows. So it is, okay, do we miss a massive payday or do we figure it out? And the answer is figure it out. So that's clearly what they're doing. Now, my hope is that everybody is safe. I'm not sure what emergency plans they have in mind, but if my memory serves me correctly, you know, this is an outdoor event. Like the arena does not have like a dome or anything on it, to my knowledge. So I'm not sure what this battle between Iran and Saudi Arabia, how that will translate. You know, I don't know what that will do. I just hope that everybody involved, the wrestlers and the fans, are all safe, that they can get in and they can get out without incident, because of course it's an event on a Saturday. Their next event would be Monday Night Raw. I'm pretty sure that SmackDown has already been taped. So the question now is, can they get in and get out? And they have built this as a massive card. Like, there's a lot happening on this. And so I just want people to be safe.
Yeah, it doesn't even say when there's a possible strike or what like the uneasiness exactly is. There's no real timetable. It's just like, hey, everybody stick around after school because something might be going down between the two bullies of Iran and Saudi Arabia. Like, what in the world could be happening? Like, the When Worlds Collide pay-per-view already happened. Like, I don't understand what's the beef between Iran and Saudi Arabia.
I'll say this. I think where we really should be concerned is the fact that it wasn't WWE that was notified. It was the US that was notified. So this is a big situation.
Beyond.
This is way beyond. And they didn't do this specifically with Crown Jewel in mind. So I do think it's something we'll need to pay attention to. No telling what's going on over there. But there's a lot at stake there. And I do hope that WWE is able to keep people safe, because what you don't want is to have some sort of unfortunate incident happen in the name of $40 million.
Right.
Exactly.
Yeah, I mean, most likely they have a private jet. There's, that's
I'm sure.
definitely a thing. And then most likely, like, I think those are kind of the protection cars and all this other thing. So, I mean, I'm sure WWE is taking every precaution, or I would hope that they're taking every precaution for that. You know, we already discussed when the deal happened 3 years ago that, some people didn't agree with it. They still went ahead and signed it. It is what it is. So, I'm hoping that everything is going to be okay.
Yeah. And again, like, they got F-22 fighter jets already there. The US does, they're like prepared for it, but prepared and readiness compared to actual action. And if anything goes down, where do you fly them to? Like, obviously we're not going to get all the information, but if something was to go down pre-show, during the show, after the show, hopefully they have all type of plans for that. You know what I mean? And if Iran and Saudi Arabia went in the beef right before Logan Paul and Roman Reigns, so when I see that match, then
Well, I'll also say this too. This may be one of the first real international tests for Triple H's WWE. The first international event that he had, Clash at the Castle, obviously everything was wonderful. It'll be interesting to see how he handles this scenario, and I think we're going to learn a lot about him. Hopefully, again, they're able to keep everything quiet and chill so that things can happen peacefully. But if not, we will see how he he handles that. I have an army, we have Brock. That's funny.
Oh wow.
So that's going to be
Well,
it's like Brock
JD in
and
the chat saying,
Brock
I have
and
an
Bobby.
army and we have Brock. I mean, in all actuality, like given the fact of just his personality, I could definitely see him, making
been about that life. I mean, and it sucks because Tennille Dashwood, Emma definitely got rid of her brand army too soon. We could have used that brand army over in Saudi Arabia to compete.
Thank you.
Somebody's not very patriotic over here.
Thank you. What in the world?
Army.
Oh boy.
What do we have next?
Well, let's head over to AEW because this is a very, very interesting comment here. So of course, Tony Khan was doing his rounds for radio this week, and he was on Busted Open earlier today to promote tonight's episode of AEW Dynamite. In that conversation, he said something very interesting about Renee Paquette. He agrees with Tommy Dreamer that apparently Renee Paquette, in his mind, has made a significant difference for WWE. He says, quote, since she came to Toronto about 3 weeks ago, it's been outstanding. I totally agree with you that these last 3 weeks that Renee has helped take the show to another level. We've seen a lot of great segments, both live interviews and interviews backstage. And apparently tonight, there's going to be a sit-down interview involving Dr. Britt Baker and Saraya as they both talk to Renee Paquette. So he's giving Renee a lot of credit for what he believes in taking AEW to a whole new level with her interviewing style.
And he's right. From the moment Renee Paquette showed up in Toronto, opening AEW with her interview with Christian, it felt big time. It felt different. It feels like there's adults in the company. It feels like there's somebody who knows exactly what she's doing, somebody who's qualified for the position that she is in. I feel like the way that the promos have been with her, the backstage promos, the interview promos, they've been great. It's almost like she's like really guiding it. And as the host, as the person doing the interview, actually controlling it and not letting anything go off the rails. That's what I felt immediately from the first promo that she did with Christian. And since then, it's only gotten better. And I think tonight, the interview with Saraya and Britt Baker, which for some reason I already thought happened like 2 weeks ago, but I think when they have that sit down tonight, that's going to really help the feud even more. And nothing against Shivani or nothing against JR. Excalibur would even really do that, but it was too much overexposure for Shivani. I think when you see Tony Schiavone get pushed down by MJF on the ramp, and then he's immediately backstage doing an interview that was a pre-tape, obviously, but he was the only person they had to do it. It just looks silly. Like the continuity,
right.
you just lose all focus on what's happening with the segment. But I think with Renee, there's a certain, you pay attention to what's happening, and the fact that they really haven't acknowledged her and Jon Moxley on screen yet. It has been pretty cool too. They were kind of waiting for, even after MJF pretty much like insulted him in front of her last week, and they just kind of kept it going. So I think there's a different dynamic with her on the screen.
I mean, she's a seasoned professional, so that's one. I think there's a difference from her era of journalism to the journalism now, where you have journalists wanting to be personalities versus journalists. Mm-hmm. And so even though it's wrestling, there's a certain way that she operates that's on that level. Like I had one of my other multiple streams of income is I do deep dives and formulate questions for different organizations. And one of the people I was researching was Jameel Hill. If you're not familiar with her, you should look her up. But her story is amazing, but she's kind of in that same era of Renee, where it was about journalistic integrity and finding the answers to the questions and not being everybody's friends. And even though, again, this is wrestling, I think Renee, because she was she's born and raised in Toronto. She went to TSN, which is like a version of ESPN in Canada. So she has a very strong background. So I feel like that's, and then when you watch her interviews, even though you can tell with some of these people, they're friends, she's still gonna try to get every single angle from it. So just a different interview style that I don't know if they aren't teaching it in school now. I'm just seeing that, you know, you're having less people kind of looking for the answers and more people wanting to be personalities. And it's not necessarily their fault. That's just kind of where we are in that era.
Yeah. Renee don't care about the party invite. So y'all take notes on that. And then I was gonna say maybe she could teach Tony Khan a thing or two.
Well, and to that end, I think there, you know, I don't want to knock anybody, but I think one of the real challenges that AEW has been, you know, making sure they have the right talent in the right places. Yeah. So I never had an issue with Tony Schiavone doing the backstage interviews, and that's because he was a step up, not more than a step up. He was just eons ahead of Alex Marvez, who they had at one point, which is like, no offense, but it's not Tony Schiavone. Let me.
It's a performance-based business.
That's the safest way to say it, right?
Yeah.
So, but the problem is they're either operating on one extreme or another. So it's either the super experienced Tony Schiavone, who you have doing double duty as commentary and an interviewer, or you have people who have never done this before, who are just standing in the back randomly doing it. And it just, so I think Renee really does kind of bring something to the table that they did not have. And they don't really have to do a lot of instructing with her to say, hey, do this. She knows what to do in those places. And that's a completely different environment and a different characteristic than what they've had in those spaces before.
Well, we will see what happens. I'm thinking of, we'll do a win, lose, and draw for this one too.
Okay.
Lose or draw.
So to me, Renee doesn't need to be at AEW. She left WWE. She kind of created her own avenue. Her podcast is doing numbers like anytime she drops it, just like serious numbers. So do you think this is a win for Renee to join AEW? Do you think it's a draw, or do you think it's a loss because now she's taking time out from, you know, creating her own empire to work with AEW? In, you know, we don't know there's so many ups and downs with the new company. So do you think it's a win, lose, or draw for this decision?
This is a win. It's a win for everybody involved. Renee's back in professional wrestling. She's back on the road with hubby at all times, and she brings the added value. There is value, which we haven't really seen with a lot of these AEW signings. It's like, okay, we're just going to bring people in, and they're here 1 week, 2 weeks, and they're gone the next week. No, Renee brings actual value to the company. So there's a mutually beneficial situation here, and she's back doing what she loves. And those are more the signings that I feel like AEW should look across. Instead of just bringing in bodies to have bodies and bringing in people to have people, then now you can actually bring in somebody that you can really sink your teeth in. And again, there's a mutual benefit, and everybody wins that way.
I'm going to call it a draw right now.
Yeah.
I'm going to call it a draw because I think it's probably too early to call it a win. It's only been a couple of weeks. I will say that one of the things that I actually liked about her building kind of her own brand was she was independent, meaning she could talk to AEW folks, talk to WWE folks, talk to whomever, and there was no skin in the game where there had to be a loyalty or bias towards either company when talking to those particular people. So it made those conversations far more interesting. And I think, you know, she's built all of these things so that we know who she is. She's Renee Paquette. She's got the cookbook. She's got all these other things that are going on. I'm not sure that she needed AEW as much as AEW needed her. And I think so. That's why I think time will tell whether or not it's a win. I mean, obviously, someone mentioned, I think Casey said there's potentially more money for her, which, again, I don't know how that deal looks for her. But, you know, I think it's too soon to say that it's a win because, again, it's very early. But I am one who believes that Renee Paquette didn't need AEW. AEW needed Renee. So I'm calling it a draw.
Yeah, I think I might say it's a draw too. I mean, of course, multiple streams of income. Sip on that wine. You know, I think, you know, another check, and then also, I mean, I know the AEW road is not as strenuous as the WWE road as far as, you know, week in and week out. So, you know, spending extra couple days with her husband and stuff like that, that always works. But yeah, I do like the fact that she's a neutral party when she was doing these interviews. And now can she, if something does go on in AEW, or, you know, she interviews somebody from AEW, can they really speak openly about the company and the experience? Or is she going to have to, you know, do the politically correct version where we've all kind of seen it, where it's like you ask a certain question, but the real question we want to ask, you know, is not going to happen. So, you know, I'm not opposed. Get that extra check. So it's a win in that case, but definitely a draw on, you know, the overall branding per se. But, you know, who are we? Get your check, Renee. I need a check too. I don't think I would have said no.
Please.
So.
I'll take a check.
Yeah.
I'll take another check.
And I was going to say, I mean, we're going to find out what she does with the interview today with Saraya and Britt Baker. I think they're going to announce tonight the match for Full Gear to start to hype it up or like announce something going down. And I think, you know, this is going to be a very important AEW Dynamite tonight as well. So big news.
Good.
And then real quick, before we go, right? We got some.
Let's talk about breaking news.
What is this?
I feel like I need the
we need a breaking news graphic
sounder.
now, right?
We need like a breaking news sounder. Yeah. We'll fix it in post and we'll add it.
There it is.
WWE has announced its investigation into Vince McMahon's alleged misconduct is complete. The special committee has been disbanded following the completion of their investigation into Vince. A WWE spokesman said Vince was, quote, done, and would not be returning to the roles taken over by Triple H. So we are indeed in the clear. I know a lot of people thought that Triple H's position will be temporary. And Vince will step in, but apparently they say that he is done. He's done.
But they Kevin Hart.
Yeah, he's done.
Sorry, come on.
That's it. They say that it came out today. It was his third quarter report. It's on the website, on the corporate website right now. The company noted that the special committee's investigation of the alleged misconduct again is complete, and it cost $17.7 million American dollars in Joe Biden's America, and $19.4 million over the course of 3 and 9 month period that ended on September 30th, 2022. So essentially, they kind of is one of those we investigated ourselves and found nothing wrong type of situations. But we're still waiting for the full thing to come out. But again, this was pretty much about if Vince McMahon used company money to pay off his exploits. And it seems like, according to this, we haven't. So,
yeah, and it's all.
Well, allegedly, call me crazy, but the story itself feels incomplete. Like, I'm looking at this story and I'm like, so what are we saying? Like, I didn't.
Correct.
That's how it feels. I'm looking at it and I'm like, and the result is. And I feel like they said tune in next week because it's nothing there, you know. So yeah. I still don't know, you know, based on how big these articles were back in June and all of the things that the Wall Street Journal reported and et cetera. This does not feel, I mean, like This is just saying that the internal investigation is done. And so, to that end, it's not, the question isn't whether or not he did these things, which is where I think some of us are kind of stuck. The question is whether or not he used company funds to protect this stuff, right? So I feel like the story still hasn't been told. And somewhere along the line, maybe we'll actually hear what the real story is. But
right, because we don't know what done means.
No idea what that
on
means.
top of that, unless a government entity puts this out, and no shade to the article that wrote it, but unless a government entity puts it out, or WWE itself puts something out, I mean, we can't really, really bank on that. So with that being said, we have to put Vince in this whole situation in the box.
In the box?
Those in the box. I don't even know how I randomly found that, but here we are.
But it's
I'm happy you did.
I know, right?
And of course, if worse come to worse with Vince McMahon, if anything happens, then it's WWE, and we know what happens with people who cross authority. They end up going one-on-one with the Undertaker.
Wow. You want to end off with that? Clearly, you need to take some more medication.
Clearly.
Yeah.
But you know what I just realized? This is related and unrelated. So it seems as though almost whenever they release their quarterly report, somebody gets released. Because the quarterly reports came out today, and so did the release from the folks from NXT. And that's how that's been happening for the last couple of years. Just an interesting observation. Okay. Interesting.
Well, I mean,
got to get the lost revenue back somehow.
Well, there's that. But if I were Triple H, you want to trim the fat, and then you want to bring in, make kind of places for other people to come in. There might be other people that he wants to come into the company. I feel like he has enough storylines going on that he doesn't need to. And also too, with that extra cash, they could be doing other things that, we just don't necessarily like. There's so many nuances to running. I'm like a small fry in my businesses, but there's just so many nuances to running a company. I can only think of all the millions of little things that they have to go through, and the people they have to talk to, and the people that are working for them, and all this other stuff that, checks and balances. And now with the scandal with Vince, allegedly, like, there's just so many other things. And then I think we talked about it 3 weeks ago, of them possibly selling too. That might be an option. So that means that the books have to look a certain way, and there's just so many things that we don't know, that we probably will not know for the next 10 to 15 years when they come out with the documentary of WWE, if they ever do come out with that documentary. So we'll see what happens. But did we want to do another heel of the day, or are we good with the one that we had?
I think we're good with the one we have.
Okay.
Yeah.
With that being said, Professor, where can everybody find you?
You can find me, of course, at Bonner. Oh, yikes. Jeez. You can find me at Bonnerfied on all of the platforms. Big show for Southern Honor this Friday night. So that should be fantastic. Of course, you will be hearing more about the upcoming show for Battle Slam, which will be on Fight TV very soon, doing a lot of commentary on that one. And all other sorts of things are happening. Of course, prowrestlingtees.com/Bonnerfied. You can get all the merch that's happening there. And of course, here on WWT Live. There it is.
And Mr. Kane, where can
before I turn it back into a werewolf, clearly I'm already coughing. Got to my werewolf. Follow me at Kane McCoy, CAINMCCOY, or you can follow me again on my Brand Army account at Kane McCoy.
So werewolves cough before they turn, or like what's?
That's news.
allegedly, like you got to cough out the RAR. Allegedly, you know, you gotta.
All right. Well,
so that way you're not worse for wear. Wolf.
What is wrong with you? Like,
good.
Sleep
Pretty
for
good.
the next 2 days.
Pretty good.
Yeah.
That's pretty good.
Please.
All right, folks. Well, make sure that you follow us on all social media platforms. Definitely go and check out our website, www.talkpod.com. We have a lot of great articles on there. Also, all our shows are on there as well. You can follow us on social media at WWTalkPod. Every social media platform that you can think of, we are on. You can follow me on everything at TK Trinidad. Thank you guys so much for joining the Wednesday edition of WWT Live. Thank you for watching Women's Wrestling Talk, the #1 women's wrestling show on the planet. Ciao, y'all.
Women's Wrestling Talk, the #1 women's wrestling show on the Women's Wrestling Talk, the #1 women's wrestling show.
Wait, we're still live. This is
Women's Wrestling Talk, the #1 women's wrestling show on the planet.